You're welcome to Slick on Live, review of 2017, the biggest hip-hop stories that made people talk on social media, that made people talk in the streets, that made people fight, that made people argue. But you know what? It keeps the game bubbling. These are the biggest stories that we had in 2017 on the website and in the game generally. So let's kick it off. January, nothing really happened. Tweezy dropped his first single, Jumanji. Shout out to Tweezy. February, that's where the controversy started happening. As we knew, the year was a rough year in 2017. You had the Chris Brown story where he was about to get into a fight with Soulja Boy, and the story of the banker who basically like tweeted some racial stuff, and the story of the other woman who was driving a VW Polo who was saying some racial stuff. So the year really started off a little bit rough in 2017. So without a surprise, it was going to be rough in hip hop. So this is what happened in February. Fifi Cooper, Benchmark and Aries leave Ambitious. Controversy surrounding that, conversations about the contracts or the contracts that they never received. The conversations about how trade-offs are done with cell phones, you know, the conversations about like how people aren't getting paid, you know, and then the rebuttal from the label saying that half of the things are not true and them releasing statements. It became a big thing, but we saw Benchmark, Aries, Fifi Cooper leaving Ambitious, and till this day they're not with Ambitious, and till this day Ambitious is not with them, and they're all moving forward. Nasty C leaves Free World Music. Now you ask yourself, how does an artist leave his own label? Well, find the story on Slick on Live. That was an interesting one, and it was a shocking one because, you know, we thought Free World was Nasty C. Riky Rick receives an award at Metro FM and drops a speech, takes a shot at Metro FM radio and says digital is the future. Now, not only did he take a shot at the radio station, he took a shot at just the awards generally because he believed that a lot of the awards were purchased. He might have been one of the guys that was watching from a side and was asking himself, how are certain people getting these awards? So Ricky literally had a classic speech that till this day a lot of kids carry to heart, that digital is the future, and he made a big statement during the Metro FM Awards, which basically has resonated, and he's become associated with as that type of person in the industry right now. That's what happened in February. Then what happened in March? When you just thought that the action was over, you thought that the beef, the leaving of the labels was over, well, this is what happens in March. Riky Rick leaves Mabala Noise. This is shocking because everybody feels that or thinks or thought that like Riky Rick owes Mabala Noise like at least like a couple of millions. Everybody was asking the luxury vehicles that we're driving, how is he going to return them? Are they his vehicles? Ricky had to show that he has his own vehicles, but it was a highly controversial move. Even Reggie posted something about people being ungrateful on social media, and that was an interesting and a shocking move by Riky Rick. Casper Nyovest drops Tito Mboweni to mixed reviews. Tito Mboweni literally hits up Casper Nyovest and he says, hey, don't use my name willy-nilly. And Casper Nyovest apologizes to Tito Mboweni and he goes, yo, it's just a song. But what does it do to the song? It makes us want to listen to the song. And you know, everybody ends up going, sha, sha, sha. Eventually, even Tito Mboweni goes, sha, 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 because he eventually embraced Casper Nyovest and accepted what he did. And in the industry news, Tiwa Touch launches Touch HD. Now we go, what is Touch HD? At that time, we have no idea what Touch HD is. All we know is that Tiwa Touch left Touch Central to create Touch HD. And in time, we learned that Touch HD is actually an online radio station where you could basically listen from the morning. He basically gets big names on the stations, like your Glenn Lewis's, Nina Hasty, and people who literally left established stations joined Tiwa Touch on this journey. Touch HD is still alive, doing their thing in HD. April brings a little bit of more light and positivity. The only problem is that April has the Psalmist, so let's start with the negativity. So the Psalmist cancelled Nasty C's submission for Best Video amidst corruption controversy. The Psalmist say apparently Nasty C's video submission was actually past the due date where you're supposed to submit videos. So they're not sure how his video ended up being nominated, and they say that there was some type of corruption for them not to acknowledge the submission date. So eventually the Psalmist for Reputation Management cancelled his submission. But to positive news, Altito and AKA have always had a historical beef, but they come together, they do a single called Tico that drops and does well for them. it literally also cements their relationship that they really are cool. Casper Nyovest signs deal with Ciroc. This is supposedly one of the biggest deals that is signed this year, apparently, just because of what we've seen with it. This was this basically was a deal that Casper really announced in a great way by basically by posting a picture, almost like saying Ciroc has to have the check ready or whatever the case be. Before it was even announced, clearly he knew that it was on the way, but he literally built this up in a nice way, and still the deal goes on with Casper Nyovest and Ciroc. And then from Riky Rick making his bold statements, he signs a deal with Vaseline. This goes, how does Riky Rick and Vaseline work together? Well, Vaseline is about nurturing men that take care of themselves. That's a huge part of them, of Vaseline's statement in the market. And of course, no one can question King Kotini's mannerism of nurturing himself. And I guess that's where Riky Rick fits in. You see the picture of him like this? Also, Kwesta wins 6 SAMAs for the first time. First male artist to win 6 SAMAs in South Africa. Shout out to that. We get into May, a lot happened in May. We got into more music, less controversy, but more music and more groundbreaking deals with May. So what happens in May? Casper Nyovest drops Tuto. This was the album that was gonna make or break him, but what we realized is that this album really made Casper Nyovest, because within that same month, he also announced that Tuto has been streamed 1 million times. So you could already see that on his third album, Casper Nyovest was quarter past. In music, people were really writing him off, but it really changed people's perception. Some say that this is probably his best album from a Casper Nyovest standards, and some of us say that it's probably one of the best albums dropped this year. But what happened on that day that album dropped? Now, because that album dropped, then people were already picking up these singles, and it dropped early. The same evening, AKN and Nati dropped Don't Forget to Pray, the single of Don't Forget to Pray. Now, already, you know how the trolls are saying. The trolls start saying, well, AKA is trying to take Casper's shine, etc., etc. But what's key about the drop of Don't Forget to Pray was that AKN and Nati were the first artists to get their song premiered on Beats One and by Ebro. And this has never been done by any South African artist. So this was a huge breakthrough. We've seen it happening commonly now, but this was really started off by AKA and Nati. And another good thing that happens in this month is the new kid, Nasty C, the rookie, doing amazing things. He also does something groundbreaking, and he does a deal with Mercedes-Benz. It's the first time we see a German company, or a luxury German company doing a deal with urban culture, especially cutting-edge urban culture. And Nasty C basically was the vessel to actually carry the flag and be the first artist to actually be acknowledged by a German company like that. So shout out to Nasty C for breaking that ground, and all these other German companies, Japanese companies, Italian companies need to start learning. All right. So what happens in June? May was a beautiful month where a lot of positive things happened. A little bit negative, but mostly positive. But just when we thought that the beef is over and more positive happens, this one is not caused by a rapper. Pick n Pay starts the beef. Okay, Pick n Pay is selling vegetables, is selling soft drinks, but they literally start beef with Maraza, right? I mean, they got so many aisles. They went to the beef aisle, right? They went to the beef aisle with Maraza. Maraza walked out of Pick n Pay, and they were questioning the money he spent with regards to his groceries. Maraza never took this lightly, because he felt that it felt like they thought that he was a criminal. The security guard thought that he was a criminal out in Kailami. So he not only bashed them and dropped a video, he also dropped a song. This was a huge conversation of how black youth are profiled by a lot of companies, and just because of how they dress and how they look. So this was a big statement by Maraza and Pick n Pay, we see you, and all the other companies that keep on profiling black people based on how they look. We see you. Stop it. Another thing that happened in June, aka Let's fifth season, and also another big thing that happened that month, MT launched AU Gold Vodka. What was very special about this deal was that, as we see a lot of the deals with artists, it's always like artists most of the times promoting what another brand has created. But from the word is that MT is actually a partner with AU Gold Vodka. You could see it in the streets. So all the time you're drinking that AU Gold Vodka, make sure that be aware that you're supporting something that's owned by an artist. And by the way, MT, I'm looking for the codeine flavor of AU Gold Vodka. Let's go. With all the controversy of a whole outlet creating beef to a rapper becoming a partner with the vodka company, in July we have something special. We see the Ciroc and Casper deal starting to come to life. He's in Ibiza and he literally does a whole viral story on his page, which literally caught the eye of a lot of people. But we really started seeing the Ciroc and Casper deal working, and it felt like, because of the lifestyle Ciroc portrays with P. Diddy and everybody else, it felt like, you know, they kind of gave Casper his own, you do your own P. Diddy, you do your own thing. And he took ownership of that. And it is always interesting when a brand also kind of treats a local artist like how they would have maybe treated an international artist and give them the privileges of that. So that looked good from Ciroc and Casper. And what happened in July also, Sway announces Kwesta in his top 5 freestyles mid-year 2017. Big deal for hip hop. Kwesta basically is acknowledged with all the international rappers who've gone on Sway and rapped, and he's in the top 5 of the best rappers that have actually represented on Sway's show. So shout out to Sway, shout out to Kwesta for representing, and you don't stop. And what happens in August? AKA and Reebok sign a deal. This is a very special, very key in our culture, because we all know that these sneaker brands, these global sneaker brands, clothing brands, don't actually put money in our culture like that. They just seed you clothing, they seed you shoes, but they do that for all the global personalities, but they don't give us money. But I think what AKA really did with this, they literally broke the ground for shoe companies to actually start considering the value of the artist and start rolling out the money instead of only just going, oh, here's shoes, you look good, we're gonna make you look good. So this was a big deal for the culture, it was a big deal for black culture, a big move for Reebok actually, and I think all the other brands in the same category need to also start learning from that. And then also another thing, the music that happened is that Muggs finally released his album after 9 years. The last time he released an album was 2008. Catch the story on Slick on Live to see how that finally happened and why he finally released it, because he never went anywhere, he was always on the features. And then another one, debut album, New Kid. Well, New Kid is really relative, but he is new in the game, new school. Shane Eagle Drops was rated as a classic album. His album is probably one of the best albums out there in the market. He literally said he got his inspiration from old school rap, and obviously he came in, he's from the new school generation, but when he brought that mix together, he's got one of the best albums that's been dropped this year. The album's actually gone gold. They're approaching platinum also with regards to streams. So that's just a great album. It shows you he never sold out, he never did anything that's less hip-hop. It's a straight hip-hop album. Shout out to Shane Eagle for that. Catch the interview and Slick on Live and see how that album was made. KO announces that he's going on his own and signs a deal with Sony. This was interesting because KO was always the head of Cash Time Records, and him being the head of Cash Time Records, signing a deal with another major. This was actually like an interesting move for him. I mean, what does it mean for Cash Time as a label now that you're signing with Sony? Catch the interview on Slick on Live where he breaks it down for you and lets you know. But this was a big story also. And then Red Bull Culture Clash. We wouldn't normally do this, but we loved how Red Bull brought the whole culture in one space, from the reggae to the house to the hip hop, and they brought it all in one stage, and they made the fans actually also like experience that and also kind of like vote for what they felt was the best within the different segments of black culture. Shout out to Red Bull for bringing all those worlds together. That's one thing to acknowledge. And once again, Sports Scene and Capsule, they also did a huge thing with the Capsule Festival, getting A$AP Ferg with Nasty C sharing a stage, and this obviously led to what would happen later on with Nasty C. So shout out to Sports Scene, shout out to Capsule, shout out to Nasty C, and shout out to A$AP Ferg, right? What happened in September? The Les launches his album at Haram with DJ Envy. Now, we all know DJ Envy is the international DJ from the Breakfast Club. That was special for Les just to bring him in, just to help him launch his album, right? Maraza drops 3 EPs at once. Maraza, one of the most underrated writers, hip-hop musicians that slept on. You need to get those EPs. You can find them on the Slick On Live website. Don't sleep. And then Bar1 also announces Casper Nyovest as host of the 2017 Bar1 Gym. I guess that was another check for Casper Nyovest. We ain't seen Bar1 doing any marketing, but hey, guess what? If you Casper, even Bar1 gonna give you some money, right? But that won't fuck with Casper's diet though. I need to get me because I got a sweet tooth. And then Riky Rick announces a partnership with Sony for his Cotton Club Records. This was also another surprising move, especially after his speech in February at the Metro FM, where he was declaring independence and he was declaring digital as the future. It's an interesting thing to see that he signed with Sony Records. We've yet to see what comes out of Cotton Club Records, but at the moment, we need to get the hats and the t-shirt. We like the t-shirts and the hats. We've yet to see what's going to come out from the label though. And what happens in October? October becomes a very good year for collaborations. You know, Kwesta also takes it to another level. He becomes the first artist to have 2 number ones on the RAM charts. First hip-hop artist to have 2 number one on the RAM charts with Spirit. The other song that he had was number 1 with on the RAM charts with Ngutu. This was history basically for radio and hip-hop. So shout out to Kwesta for doing that. Frank Casino drops Low with A$AP Ferg. Basically how that collaboration comes, it obviously came from the previous month when A$AP Ferg was in the country. A$AP Ferg basically like heard Frank Casino's music, hit him up, said that, yo, we need to collaborate. You want to see how the rest of the story happened, go on to Slick On Live. But this was one of those organic situations where actually A$AP Ferg went for Frank and said, I need to work with you. So that's a big shout out. I think word on the street is that even A$AP Ferg is still saying, yo, when are we shooting the video? I mean, look, A$AP Ferg just dropped a collaboration track with Nicki Minaj. Relax. He's not a B-grade artist. All right? So let's get into what happened in November. November, Nasty C drops his capsule line, you know, which obviously also probably stemmed off the event that happened in the 2 months before that. And AKA launches Beam Digital. Excitement about Beam Digital. He feels that like the artists need to have more ownership on telling their stories and actually highlights the fact that we don't have any power on social media. Big up to them for acknowledging that. Pretty Ugly releases his debut album with Ambitious. Big deal, obviously, for Pretty Ugly and a lot of us who've been following him from the beginning as an independent artist. I mean, he's a sign of perseverance. He's a sign of a guy who stuck by his guns and literally prepared himself for that big moment when his music drops, right? And then getting into December, December basically was the month that closed everything for us, right? Gigi Lemaine announces that she is leaving Mabala Noise, possibly joining him, and she tags Ambitious. So we're probably going to see what that means next year. Casper basically fills up FNB with 78,000 people. This was one of the shows that he never promoted the most out of all these fill-ups, but this is probably his biggest. I don't feel that we really made a big deal about Casper filling up 78,000 people. And more than anything, I think that he found a price point for a market that's into the culture to actually go, I can't afford to pay a high price, but I'll go. But I never go because all the time it's expensive. He found the right price point, right, to get those numbers. Imagine how many more kids are in hip-hop, but they can't afford it because of all the pricing. So not only did he fill 78,000 people, he found the right price point to fill that, which hasn't been done by any brand, by any artist, by any institution at all. It's pretty much a big deal, which I think we slept on. Hence, you know, I'm wearing mine. And by the way, don't forget also shout out to Patty. Patty, I got you on the Malaki. Come on, you know, I had to, it was fitting for me to fit into some hip hop gear to do this, right? And then what happens? Pop Bottles, Mauritius sells out. Shout out to DJ Dimples. You've literally built Pop Bottles to an amazing brand that's still alive after 9 years or so. DJ Dimples literally is hip hop like any other rapper is hip hop. like a lot of other DJs, like your VGs, your Speedster, Milkshake, you know, he's threaded into the hip hop game without a doubt. So that was a celebration just for hip hop, a lifestyle event owned by a hip hop DJ, sells out in Mauritius. There's more to come. AKA does his deal with Betterway. Shout out to that. So if you want to gamble, you into your sports, AKA got you. Just like register on the page. Basically, that's also a deal that's out of the box, you know, out of the box thinking. Krista brings Wale to the hood with Spirit. Shout out to that. Wale came to the hood. They shot the video in K1. Ulit Kayuan, Wale, Waselukshin, whatever he says on the rhymes. But the point is that, like, Krista brought Wale to the hood. They raised the money. Wale was literally like also integrated into the whole thing. Another thing that's also about to happen in the collaborations, and it's funny, these things are happening in the same month. These songs were actually like released or maybe recorded. Now the videos are happening. Frank is also flying to Miami to go shoot a video with A$AP Ferg for Low. Yo, shout out to everyone in 2017 that did something and contributed to the game. We just highlighting some of the biggest stories, but they're things that we never mentioned. But we want to say to everyone in the game, from the up and coming to the established, every move that you make that you feel is a win is basically a win for us, and it grows up and it grows and it grows and it gets to a point where we all see it and we all celebrate it. So don't stop the moves. You know, it's not the big stories that are the heartbeat. It's actually what the big stories spill over. It's the people who actually like go, oh, that's what he did, I'ma do that. And you might think it's a small move, but you know, or we might not acknowledge the move, but it doesn't mean that it's not a big move. It's personally a big move for you. It's gonna be a big move for the game over time. So make sure that you make your small move counts, because that's where the big move counts. So 2018, let's make it greater. Slick on life, before the game, to the game, keep playing the game, and let's build it and let's make it happen. Good luck for 2018. Happy New Year. Let's go.
Broadcast live